Thank you, Captain Stoddard, for SBA's continued support of the generic drug program. On behalf of the Office of Generic Drugs, thank you all for being here today at the 2024 Generic Drug Forum. I'm honored to open this event alongside my colleague, Susan Rosencrance from the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. Today, you'll hear presentations on resources, best practices, common deficiencies, and opportunities to engage with the agency from pre-ANDA to post-submission activities. Now, before we jump into the many insightful presentations and actionable tips you'll hear from the CDER staff today, I'd like to set the stage by providing an overview of what I see as our goal in holding this event. How collaboration and using FDA tools for success can result in increased approvals. The forum is an effort to help applicants submit complete and high-quality applications, to maximize the efficiency and utility of each assessment cycle, and to reduce the number of assessment cycles, facilitating timely access to safe, effective, and high-quality generic drugs. Maintaining a collaborative working relationship between FDA, researchers, and industry is one way I believe we can accomplish our mission. Discussions like this one we will have today play an important role in helping guide and generate new and better ways to support the development of more efficient bioequivalent approaches, advanced analytical tools, and other innovative methods that can lead to more complete ANDAs and more first cycle approvals. For the next few slides, I will talk about some of the people at the heart of these valuable collaborations. First, I like to ground our work in why each of us in the generic drug program knows why the work we do is so important. I'm proud of our We Are OGD campaign, highlighting personal stories from our staff on why they are dedicated to serving the public health mission, and particularly the generic drug program. This quote is from one of our staff members. And for me, I do appreciate firsthand that not all brand name drugs of the same class are equally effective or safe for an individual, and that having generics for individual brand name drugs is important. One particular experience comes to mind. Years ago, I was hospitalized, and during the hospitalization, I was given IV medication. And then after discharge, I was switched to an oral version of that same product. But when I went to my pharmacy, they didn't cover the brand name product. And so, trying to be a little bit, practical, there are other products in the same class. And, I was okay with it being switched to something that was covered under my insurance. So that night, after dinner, I took my medication. But, in the middle of the night, I woke up feeling really nauseated. And that was different from when I was in the hospital. So the next day, I re-challenged myself, said, okay, is this a one-time thing, or is this something with the medication? Because the medication was the only new thing. And sure enough, the middle of the night, I woke up feeling sick to my stomach. So the third night, I de-challenged myself, right? I held the medicine, and I felt much better. So then the fourth day, I just paid, for the brand name product out of pocket. And fortunately for me, I am able to afford that. But I think for a lot of families, that would be a challenge. And so just my personal experience in that having generic products it really can make a difference for individuals. I can tell you what a professional, insightful, and thoughtful group of employees FDA's generic drug program is made of, and I'm excited for you to get to spend the next 2 days hearing from them. OGD is a high-achieving, resilient group of dedicated professionals. It's really a special place to work because the staff fully embraces our mission of supporting the public health through access to generic drugs. Our current strategic plan focuses on fostering an engaged organizational culture that attracts and retains a highly qualified, talented, and diverse workforce empowered to carry out the mission of OGD. We do receive messages of appreciation for the important and insightful work of the various OGD employees that you interact with. Here's a recent example of messages to people who make an approval possible. Similar to the new drug program, we want to ensure that patients are heard. We have a number of opportunities to engage and empower patients. For example, there are opportunities to participate in the public meetings and conferences held by FDA, as well as public solicitations for input on the user fee program negotiations. GDF research programs support the investigation of generic drug development challenges and help us establish and clarify the scientific framework for ANDA development, submission, and assessments. We have a public meeting each year to help set research priorities. Additionally, we meet with stakeholders on a regular basis throughout negotiations. Per the GDF commitment letter, not less frequently than once every month during negotiations with the generic drug industry, the Secretary shall hold discussions with representatives of patient and consumer advocacy groups to continue discussions on the reviews on the reauthorization and their suggestion for changes. OGD funds research grants that investigate specific views and concerns from patient perspectives and further identify allowable differences where patient preferences can help set research priorities. Patient contribution spans across all stages, and we encourage integrating patient input into generic drug development and decision-making. In the translational stage, collecting patient experience with brand drugs can assist developers in creating a more robust development pathway, ensuring product development success. The pre-market stage user experience of proposed generics helps assess the allowable product differences that could impact patient perception and patients' ability to accurately use the drug product, or even further identify potential safety issues or unexpected safety considerations. In the post-market stage, patients are integral for safeguarding the American public by sharing and reporting safety information and drug shortage reporting to secure our supply chain. Next, I would like to talk about our tools for success, which is really what this event is all about. Here's an excerpt from the email from industry that I thought captured the collaboration and tools we're discussing today, as well as the outcomes we're all looking for. They write, "The first generic represents years of engagement with FDA, made possible in part thanks to a multitude of tools available through the GDF program, including post-CRL teleconferences to resolve several complex issues and insights provided through GDF science initiatives, all culminating in complex synthetic peptide product approval." The Generic Drug Forum is all about providing actionable advice. So here are some tips from the pre-ANDA, ANDA, and suitability petition side of things. For product, the first thing is, remember, we have a lot of different meeting types, so request the appropriate meeting. For example, for product development meetings, include specific proposals and questions. Make sure you include sufficient rationale and support for each of your questions. Avoid questions that are review issues, and then choose the best meeting format for your questions. And in terms of pre-submission meetings, we do offer face-to-face, video, or in-person meetings. These tend to be not question-based, but really are an orientation to your submission, and let assessors kind of know if there's any unique or new information in the submission. And you want to consider submitting meeting package in the format of a draft presentation. And then we have many resources, and some of them are listed there. In terms of ANDA submission tips, I can't emphasize enough, submit a very clear and thorough cover letter. It can save both you and us a lot of time. Make sure it's very clear on what is being submitted. State if the submission includes proposed labeling carve-outs. We strongly recommend the cover letter attachment, especially for unexpected or unsolicited information. If you're including data submitted to a discipline, and then if you're submitting a large, complicated submission, having that cover letter and attachment really helps to identify what's in there, and it helps to allow better triaging of your submission. Make sure you respond thoroughly to any sort of requests. Monitor any updates. Make sure you know what changes are happening to your RLD, USP, guidances, orange books, and make sure you submit timely litigation-related updates, and make sure that you remain in good standing. Recently, we've had a lot of data integrity concerns. Make sure you coordinate DMF changes, and then pay attention to patents. In terms of some GDUFA 3 enhancements, we do have goal dates for product-specific guidances after a complex product for a new drug application. Our first goal dates hit us in October 2024. We do have new product-specific guidance meetings, and there's a guidance out there providing more information on that. And then I think people have appreciated that AND assessment team members are included in pre-submission meetings. Suitability petitions are a request to submit an ANDA with certain differences from the RLD. Examples are differences in strength or dosage form. The current GDF agreement has goal dates associated with suitability petitions as shown. Furthermore, we will prioritize suitability petitions for certain reasons, such as mitigating drug shortage situation or addressing a public health emergency. For FY24, we've had so far 80 submissions. Half of the responses issued have been issued already, and more grant decisions were issued as compared to denials. Now, we do have enhanced communications for complex generics. Remember that before an application is submitted, we do have pre-submission meetings. You can use this when you do new or unique studies for complex generics. And information shared does help FDA form an assessment team early and coordinate between product development meeting and application assessment. After your application is submitted, we do have, as an example, post-complete scientific response meetings. After you receive an CR, you can use this when you need to do new and different studies for complex generics and get advice before conducting those studies. The GDF Science and Research Program is an essential component of FDA's mission to protect and promote public health. Each fiscal year, multiple sources of public input and experts across the generic industry collaborate to establish science and research priorities that can help expand and accelerate patient access to generic drugs, especially for the most pressing scientific challenges with generic product development. Scientists and clinicians from industry, academia, and FDA then strategically design studies so that the research outcomes enable us to build scientific bridges across the knowledge gaps, which then advance research in those areas. These outcomes are published in an annual report describing the corresponding activities. The outcomes of this research help FDA establish efficient new pathways for pharmaceutical manufacturers to develop generic drugs that were previously challenging or infeasible to develop. Innovative tools enhance the understanding of complex drug interaction and mechanisms, aiding in the development of generics for more intricate formulations. Robust scientific approaches, including analytical techniques and bioequivalence studies, enable accurate assessment of generic drug quality and equivalence. Meanwhile, this field of regulatory science constantly evolves, integrating technological advancements and innovative research methodologies to streamline the approval process. Challenging ourselves to continue to push for generic drug access for all kinds of products expands patient access to their medications. And we see this happening right before our eyes within FDA's adaptive and robust generic drug program. Let me highlight just a few of the many results of our FY23 GDUFA Science and Research. PSGs are a key tool FDA provides. The outcomes from the GDUFA-funded research expand our understanding of drug products and often contribute to the development of advanced methods to characterize product quality and performance. FDA's recommendations related to bioequivalence issues and product quality are communicated to the generic industry through continued publication of new and revised PSGs, as well as general guidances for industry. PSGs help prospective generic applicants understand our expectations, focus their product development, and prepare for ANDA submissions, and mitigate certain risks associated with generic product development. The development of these PSGs also facilitates our assessment of ANDAs for corresponding products once submitted. The recommendations in many of these PSGs would not have been possible without the GDUFA Science and Research Program. In terms of the pre-ANDA product development meetings, in addition to informing FDA guidances, GDUFA research also allows us to evaluate whether proposed BE approaches presented to FDA in a pre-ANDA product development meeting are likely to be suitable or not. GDUFA research outcomes enable FDA to provide prospective ANDA applicants with timely technical advice that helps them prepare their submissions in a manner compatible with the most current scientific insights and regulatory expectations. We've collaborated for many years now with the Center for Research on Complex Generics to expand our collaboration and communication with industry, help industry develop complex generics and implement FDA scientific insights, and help inform the GDUFA research. We've also taken on new efforts and pilots, such as the Model Integrated Evidence Pilot. We also provide information in a variety of ways, including online and in our OGD annual report. We hope you'll continue to keep yourselves informed through your RPM, our public communications, and events such as this. In fact, as Captain Stoddard pointed out before, we have other important meetings, workshops, and webinars coming up in the next couple of months, and I hope to see you at the next week's Modified Release Oral Drug Product Workshop. We are grateful to all our collaborators within FDA and at institutions around the world and throughout the global generic drug industry. We are committed to continue providing tools and support as you do the important work of developing generic drugs and getting them to the market. Last year, we had a record number of approvals considering both originals and supplements. We remain confident that our collaborative engagements are the most effective way to bring about access to more generic drugs. Thank you to the dedicated FDA staff who organized the Generic Drugs Forum, especially those in OGD, OPQ, and SBIA. And thank you to the members of the audience participating today. I do hope you find this forum to be informative and insightful. And now I'm honored to pass the mic to Dr. Susan Rosencrance. Thank you.
Thank you, Iilun, and good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about key components to ensure pharmaceutical quality. But before I begin, I want to share with you a motto that we have in my office, and that's everyone deserves confidence in their next dose of medicine, and pharmaceutical quality assures the availability, safety, and efficacy of every dose. From our perspective, pharmaceutical quality is not just one thing, it's an array. At a minimum, it includes quality management, process quality, and product quality, as you can see in the center of the slide. The FDA assesses drug product quality and applications, and we monitor pharmaceuticals in the US market to ensure that each dose is safe and effective and free of contamination and defects. This gives patients confidence in every dose they take. Process quality is controlling manufacturing risk to provide a quality drug product, from the raw materials to the packaged product. This is what gives manufacturers confidence at every batch they release to the market. The FDA assesses process quality and applications, and we monitor and inspect facilities manufacturing for the US market. Then mature quality management, on the other hand, uses a performance and patient focus to identify areas of improvement and implement changes accordingly. This is what gives manufacturers confidence that every batch they make will be acceptable to release to the public, now or years from now. The Office of Pharmaceutical Quality's mission at the FDA is to ensure that quality medicines are available to the American public. And this mission is fueled by two implicit beliefs: that medicine should be of high quality and that medicines should be available. So to start my presentation, I'd like to provide first an explanation of the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, or we refer to it as OPQ. And it's in FDA's Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, or CDER. Then I'm going to talk about the importance of quality communication and quality innovation in ensuring that quality drugs are available to the American public. So CDER established the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality in early 2015 to give the center one quality voice, creating a uniform drug quality program across all sites of manufacture. This means that OPQ oversees domestic and foreign manufacturing and every type of human drug product, including new and generic drugs, biologics and biosimilars, as well as over-the-counter drugs. So OPQ's core functions can be broken down to assessment, inspection, surveillance, policy, and research. And all of these functions work in harmony to provide regulatory oversight across the globe and across the life cycle of drug products. OPQ's strategic pillars of collaboration, communication, engagement, and innovation support these core functions. Collaboration strengthens OPQ's culture and relationships with FDA business partners. Communication allows OPQ to elevate awareness and commitment to the importance of pharmaceutical quality. And innovation works to promote the availability of better medicines for the American public, while engagement forges partnerships and connections with public stakeholders. In order to advance our field and the way we work, OPQ recently underwent a reorganization. Our new organization structure, shown in this slide, increases our ability to respond to changes in an evolving workload, complexity of pharmaceutical supply chains, and public health emergencies. Currently, I'm serving as OPQ's Acting Deputy Director for Science and have 5 offices reporting to me. That's on the right-hand side of the slide. And with the reorganization, we created 3 new assessment offices. The offices of Product Quality Assessment 1 through 3, where staff will focus on the entire life cycle of a drug product, from IND to NDA to ANDA to all the post-approval changes after approval. These offices have divisions comprised of both ANDA and NDA units. The offices of Product Quality Assessment 1 and 2 focus on product quality assessment for small molecule products. And the Office of Product Quality Assessment 3 focuses on drug substance assessment for both large and small molecule products. The collective goal of these new offices are to improve the life cycle approach to quality assessment, enhance our skills and approaches, and increase consistency across product types and user fee programs. OPQ research staff from the Office of Testing and Research and the Office of Biotechnology Products have been consolidated into a singular new office, the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality Research, or OPQR, which you'll see on the left-hand side of the slide. They're highlighted in gold or yellow. And what this has done is brought our talented scientific experts together in a single office that will help us, and this helps us foster new collaborations and tackle emerging challenges. Staff in this office will perform drug quality surveillance testing and laboratory-based investigation to support OPQ and CDER for public health emergencies. This staff will also provide consults, collaborative research opportunities, and scientific training for FDA's employees. Change is an important part of evolution, and we in OPQ pride ourselves in creating a more agile, connected, and influential organization. I want to emphasize that OPQ's reorganization will have little to no impact on how we interact with industry. OPQ will continue to support the human drug user fee programs, including GDUFA for generics, PDUFA, and BSUFA for biosimilars. We will continue to interact with industry across these programs, and submissions and communications between parties will remain the same. For example, applicants will continue to communicate through the Regulatory Business Process Manager, or RBPM, assigned to their submission. We aim for consistency in industry interactions, creating a smooth and dependable experience for all those involved. So now I'd like to focus on OPQ's quality communication efforts as it relates to the generic drug program. OPQ puts out 2 public reports on an annual basis. One is our annual report on the state of pharmaceutical quality, which presents key data characterizing drug and manufacturing quality. Some key findings that I'd like to highlight in this report are that the number of surveillance inspections of human drug sites tripled from fiscal year 21 to 22. And CDER's site catalog has more than 4,800 manufacturing sites, with over 40% in the US. Of these drug manufacturing sites, 40% are in the no application sector, indicating that products manufactured at those sites are marketed in the US without approved FDA applications. So this sector includes over-the-counter monograph products, marketed unapproved prescription drug products, as well as homeopathic products. The remaining 60% of sites manufacture at least one application product, including ANDA, an NDA, and a BLA. Furthermore, CDER's product catalog, which is an inventory of all registered products, contains over 140,000 application and non-application products, including more than 12,000 ANDAs, 3,500 NDAs, and 325 BLAs. The second public report is OPQ's newly released annual report, which describes our performance over the year. In 2023, OPQ performed the quality assessment of more than 1,100 product applications that were approved or tentatively approved. This includes 118 new drug applications, almost 1,000 generic drug applications, and 29 biologics license applications, including biosimilars. Notably, OPQ supported 55 novel drug approvals, products with new molecules not previously submitted to FDA. And this number includes 17 novel biotechnology products. These novel drugs were approved for treating a variety of conditions, including a rare genetic neurological disorder that affects brain development and anemia caused by chronic kidney disease. While all applications submitted under user fee programs are assessed using target timelines, OPQ expedites assessment to address critical public health needs. For example, to address drug shortages and rare or orphan diseases. OPQ performed 359 expedited quality assessments to address drug shortages and 28 priority assessments to address orphan diseases for which there are few, if any, treatment options. Although OPQ is responsible for ensuring that human drugs marketed in the US meet quality standards, collaboration across the FDA is vital. OPQ supported several efforts related to the FDA User Fee Reauthorization Act of 2022, which includes GDF 3. We participated in negotiations leading to a commitment letter and developed policy materials, including guidances that you will hear more about from my OPQ colleagues today. OPQ's GDF 3 efforts help ensure that the American public has access to safe, effective, and high-quality generic drugs, with emphasis placed on high-quality communication, submission of high-quality applications, and availability of high-quality drug products. One example of high-quality communication is product-specific guidances, or PSGs. As I'm sure you're aware, product-specific guidances describe FDA's current thinking on types of studies suitable to support development and approval of high-quality generics. An example is cyclosporin ophthalmic emulsion. Over time, research developed a strong body of knowledge for this product, which led to not only the PSG publication, but also the approval of the first such generic in 2022. For certain types of generic products, such as cyclosporin and other complex products, the development of a PSG can be challenging. In general, complex products account for roughly 1 in every 4 products, with most of them in the non-oral categories. FDA internal labs, including OPQ's new Office of Pharmaceutical Quality Research, have been very active in working with OGD to develop scientific knowledge and evidence to support PSG development. I also want to acknowledge some of our GDUFA 3 policies where OPQ collaborated with OGD and others to develop. We've released draft guidance on facility readiness and goal date decisions, pre-submission facility correspondence, and reviews of drug master files in advance of an ANDA submission. These GDUFA 3 documents largely relate to how industry communicates with us and how we communicate with industry. We also released a public manual of policies and procedures, or what we call a MAP, on assessing reclassification requests for complete response letters with facility-based deficiencies. This map is also about being transparent and explaining how we make these sometimes difficult decisions. You will hear much more about policies related to generic drugs throughout this event. And in my next few slides, I will cover innovation. I'm going to focus on a concept needed to handle the rapidly evolving pharmaceutical manufacturing landscape. And that's our initiative related to quality management maturity, or QMM. QMM will not be covered elsewhere during this year's forum, so I want to make sure I highlight how this program is beneficial for improving supply chain quality. QMM aims to encourage drug manufacturers to implement quality management practices that go beyond cGMP requirements. Adopting mature quality management practices supports a more reliable drug supply chain by reducing the occurrence of quality-related failures. It can also improve the ability of establishments to maintain performance during expected and unexpected supply chain disruptions. It's important to understand that quality management maturity, or QMM, is not just one thing. It's actually an umbrella concept, and many elements fall underneath it. For example, quality metrics. They're a key aspect of a mature pharmaceutical quality system. But QMM is about much more than any one of these elements, and it entered the discussion in full in a 2019 cross-government report on drug shortages. This report identified root causes of drug shortages and potential enduring solutions. Specifically, it found that the market does not reward manufacturers for a mature quality system that focuses on continuous improvement and early detection of supply chain issues. And one recommended solution was developing a system to incentivize drug manufacturers to invest in achieving QMM at their facilities. Since the publication of this drug shortage report, consensus has been building on the importance of a QMM program. Most notably, in fiscal year 23, the Pharmaceutical Science and Clinical Pharmacology Advisory Committee voted unanimously that CDER should establish a QMM program to incentivize mature quality management practices. I want to point out that QMM can really be viewed as a rare win-win-win solution, as nearly everyone benefits: patients and consumers, industry, and FDA. It enables patients to have more reliable drug products, providing them more confidence in their next dose. It enables industry to continually improve, and it rewards so-called good actors in the market. And it enables the FDA to deploy surveillance and inspection tools more effectively. A cross-functional team to facilitate the development of the QMM rating program has been formed at FDA. And as we continue to build this innovative program, we will engage with stakeholders. Between October and March of 2022, CDER worked with third-party contractors who executed 2 pilot programs aimed at assessing the QMM of drug manufacturing establishments. And as a result, in January 2023, we published a white paper on the lessons we learned from these pilot programs. Then in August of 2023, CDER published another paper shown here in the middle of the slide. This paper outlines the focus areas for developing the protocol to assess the QMM of manufacturing establishments. In the fall of 2023, the FDA solicited comments on CDER's QMM program via a public docket, and the feedback received is informing the continued development of this program. And then most recently, as part of our continued public engagement, we announced a voluntary QMM prototype assessment protocol evaluation program. We received 20 requests to participate and have identified the 9 participants that we can accommodate. Through this evaluation program, industry participants and FDA QMM assessors can work together to drive proactive continual improvement in the pharmaceutical industry. In closing, let me share with you some of the quality-related topics you're going to hear about over the next 2 days. Here's a list of the topics covered by OPQ speakers. And as you listen to all of the presentations during this forum, I ask that you step back and consider for a moment just how much effort goes into developing and regulating generic drugs. Achieving pharmaceutical quality requires the commitment of regulators and manufacturers. Let's continue working together to assure quality medicines are available to patients. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Captain Stoddard, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today about shortages. And today I will be discussing FDA's role in preventing and mitigating drug shortages. And the objectives I have here is describing FDA's role in prevention and also our role as the drug shortage staff in CDER. And also understanding the ongoing reasons for drug shortages, as well as new challenges to the U.S. drug supply. Our mission is to prevent and mitigate and alleviate drug shortages, and our priority is to ensure that patients and providers have access to medications that they need. Just a brief history about the drug shortage program. It started in 1999, actually started with a half an FTE, and now we have grown to 15 staff members. And I do want to highlight, even though it's 15 staff members, we work with a large group of people within FDA that work on a particular shortages. So it's not, we facilitate the shortage issues, but we work with a huge staff within FDA to address any particular issue. And then also, we were elevated into the center director. We were under O&D, First Office of New Drugs, but we were elevated to the center director in 2014. I also want to note that there is a separate shortage staff within the Center of Biologics, as well as the Center for Devices that handle shortages for biological drugs, as well as devices. We did have a huge increase in shortages in the 2010-2011 period, where we had 2 manufacturers shut down, and that created a large number of shortages for us. And right after that, President Obama signed an executive order on reducing drug shortages. And then soon after, we had the 2012 FDASIA legislation that required early notification for manufacturers to report to us any disruption. And then recently in 2020, we have the CARES Act, which added notification requirements for API manufacturing and discontinuations and interruptions. The drug shortage staff oversees and facilitates the resolution of all drug shortages. And we do this by working with manufacturers on short-term and long-term strategies and address actual and potential supply interruptions. We don't want to just address the immediate issue. We want to work on long-term issue to ensure future supplies also. We work with various stakeholders to develop a risk-benefit analysis for each specific situation. We are also responsible for distributing information on our drug shortage website, and we do this by including information about that shortage on the website. So we have a lot of resources on our drug shortage website. And we also work with professional organizations such as ASHP. We work really closely with them, and they have their own drug shortage website, as well as patient advocacy groups. When we share information with outside groups, we definitely ensure that we do not provide any confidential information and ensure that that is protected for companies that share information with us. Shortage situations can be different, and each can present its own challenge. However, the goal is to maintain availability while minimizing risk to patient. How does the FDA determine if a drug is in shortage? First, I'd like to define, this is our definition of a drug shortage, which is a period of time when the demand exceeds the supply of the drug. We prioritize drugs that are life-saving and have the most impact on public health. However, we do work on and address shortages of all drugs. This is a slide of the supply chain, and really it identifies our sources of information that we get of supply and demand information. We have established a relationship with manufacturers as well as professional organizations and advocacy groups. Manufacturers are required to report to us the supply disruption. However, demand and inventory production information is voluntarily supplied to us by manufacturers as well as wholesalers. We also use IQVIA database, which provide us with sales and market share data. This helps us gain a general picture of the historical burn rate or usage of a drug, as well as most recent market shares for the current product manufacturers. And lastly, we have a public email account, and most recently, we have now a drug shortage, a public database where patients and healthcare providers can report to us shortages. And we do explore and respond to every public notification that we receive. And these sources help us gather information and get a picture of the supply situation. The notification requirements are summarized here. Manufacturers and applicants notify FDA of a permanent discontinuance and also any interruption in the manufacture of such products that will likely lead to a supply disruption. And that now notification is required of similar of the API suppliers. As I mentioned before, we work with various parties inside and outside the agency. We gather information from outside stakeholders to get a clear picture of the supply situation and overall shortage. We receive shortage inquiries from the public, which includes healthcare providers and patients. And we will investigate to determine if a true drug supply issue exists nationally, or it could be sometimes a localized issue. We meet regularly with our international partners to discuss current shortages. We share with them information on the shortages that we are experiencing, as well as letting them know what we are doing about to address the shortages. Also, we work with them when we are looking for an import to address a shortage within the US. We work with our international colleagues to identify a source that could help with the shortage in the US. We also work with other U.S. agencies such as Center for Disease Control and DEA on various shortage issues. And then, of course, we work with the manufacturers, not only the ones that are experiencing the issue, but also those that are could potentially, alternate suppliers that could potentially help or assist during a shortage situation. We really value the relationship we have built with industry, and our communications and collaborations are very important for us and for our ongoing drug shortage work. Once we receive a notification, it is assigned to one of our DSS staff member to evaluate the information received and determine if there is a drug shortage concern. DSS will also coordinate any activities and communication needed to address the shortage concern. If it is confirmed that a shortage exists, then we may post information on our website, and we'll continue to monitor that particular shortage until it is resolved. What can FDA do to help mitigate, prevent, or limit drug shortages? So we really work closely with the manufacturer to address any issue or any help that they need assistance with, but ultimately the manufacturer must address the root cause. What we can require, as I mentioned, now we have the notification that they are required to let us know if there is any potential for a disruption under the 506C of the FD&C Act, as well as discontinuations. And also, they are required to notify us of certain quality events or manufacturing changes. But we cannot require a company to make a drug or make more of a drug, and we have no control over their distribution, where the drug goes, to which purchasers, and how it's distributed. We prioritize medically necessary products as defined. A medically necessary product is defined as, a product that is used to treat or prevent a serious disease or medical condition for which there is no other alternative drug available in adequate supply that is judged by a medical staff to be an adequate substitute. When we receive a shortage report, the first thing we want to do is we consult with our review division, the clinical division, to first find out if the drug is medically necessary. And that helps us prioritize our work as well as also make risk-based decisions. We continue to work and encourage firms to report to us disruption, but we also now are encouraging them to report to us any increase in demand. And we highlight that in the guidance to industry on notification of supply disruption, but it's currently not a requirement for industry to report disruption caused by increased demand. We also expedite review of anything that would increase supplies, such as additional lines, raw material suppliers, and we facilitate anything that will help facilitate to help mitigate and prevent a shortage. And we also expedite ANDAs that are in the queue for shortage drugs to increase longer-term manufacturing capacity and prevent future shortages. These are just, highlighting more of the additional tools that we have. First, in an emergency situation, we have an emergency portal that we can reach out proactively to all of our industry contacts and requesting that they let us know if they anticipate any supply issues as a result of the emergency event. If there is a shortage concern for a particular drug, we do reach out to the other suppliers to let them know of the shortfall, of course, without sharing any confidential information. And and this will prompt firms to look at their demand and supply. When a potential or actual supply disruption is reported by a manufacturer, we request information from the manufacturers on anything that would mitigate or prevent a shortage, such as proposal to maintain availability while minimizing risk, such as one example is validating a filter to remove a particle and we put that in a Dear Healthcare Provider letter that is available on our website. And that really what is regulatory discretion is the next point here is flexibility that gives the agency to maintain availability while minimizing risk to patients. The filter example I just mentioned is one example. However, there are numerous examples of regulatory discretion, and that includes use of an unapproved API, possibly where a firm is working on a new supplier. So that could also occur with the regulatory discretion. Of course, we ask for additional safety controls that can be used, such as extra testing, third-party oversight. Extension of expiry dating is another thing that we could give regulatory discretion for, and that would be for specific lots, and those are the lots that are already in distribution. So that means the company will provide us with additional stability data that's submitted to us and reviewed by our reviewers within FDA, and if it's deemed adequate, then those lot numbers will be posted on our website with the new expiration date. Temporary importation is our last resort, and that's when we look for an outside source where the U.S. manufacturers are no longer able to meet the market demand within the U.S. We look for an ex-U.S. source. And when that happens, and you can see here several of the drugs that we have imported in the past, we also encourage those manufacturers of the ex-U.S. product to submit an application to FDA, and this way, if they're approved in the U.S., we have an additional source now that we can rely on for future supply. Early notification is key to prevention. The increase in early notification and our ongoing work with manufacturers has led to increased number of prevented shortages. The earlier we know, the better chance of preventing a drug shortage. Now, some shortages can endure for months, for years, depending on the precipitating event. And of course, not all shortages can be prevented. There are unanticipated events that can occur, such as public health emergency, manufacturing breakdown, and natural disasters. Other manufacturers also may not be able to meet the shortfall. They don't have enough capacity. If a shortage cannot be prevented, we do encourage allocation by companies to evenly distribute supply. We also encourage, but cannot require, firms to have safety stocks and to distribute that safety stock inventory via direct distribution during a shortage to minimize hoarding and overbuying. This slide, this is 2022 data. 2023 will be out soon. The majority of the potential or actual drug shortages that we see is related to quality issues and manufacturing delays. However, recently also we have started to see an increased reports of shortages due to increased demand. Some of our current challenges include, as I mentioned, increase in demand. Some of the types of drugs that we're seeing increase in demand, the narcotics, the IV fluids, with the weight loss drugs, and also during an example of is even COVID, we saw an increased demand where a lot of hospitalized patients, and there was a high demand for the drugs of critical drugs within the hospital. Also loss of overall market capacity, recent bankruptcy that we've had, plant closures. Then we have the industry-wide short supply of manufacturing components and commodities, filters, glass, and stoppers. And then also we are seeing new quality-related issues found on inspection. And of course, as mentioned, impurities such as nitrosamine, that's been an ongoing issue also at the, that we are working on at the agency as a whole. And also natural disasters, the recent tornado impact that impacted the Pfizer North Carolina facility. And of course, the economic issue is that we have lack of market certainty to support investment and continuous improvement. What can industry do to help decrease drug shortages? The role of industry is to understand the vulnerabilities and frailties of their supply chains. It's important to communicate to us early on if there is a potential shortage issue. Provide us with a short-term and a long-term plans or proposals for addressing, preventing shortages while also working to maintain and improve quality. Provide us with information that we can post on the website when a shortage is unavoidable, and also work with us at FDA to minimize shutdowns and slowdowns that could lead to shortages, and adopt a more mature quality management practices, as mentioned. Some additional solutions, the risk management plan, and that was one that was required as part of the CARES Act of 2020, where there is a guidance that will have information about what to include in those plans. We want firms to have backup plans if there is a sudden manufacturing failure or demand increase, redundancy in manufacturing, additional lines, additional manufacturing sites that you have as backup when there is an issue, and more capacity, more overall capacity of additional manufacturers making critical drugs. In the past, I've been with shortages for many, many years, but we've had drugs where it had 5, 6, or even 10 manufacturers, and now we're down to 3, 2, or even sole source. So that's very important to encourage additional manufacturers to come on the market for these vulnerable generic drugs. And then also focus on quality management, maturity, and continuous improvement. I will end with just a quote from Dr. Califf. He said, "We have got to fix the core economics if we're going to get this situation fixed." And that's all I have. Thank you. This is our just some links to our drug shortage notification portal, our email, and also our website. Thank you very much.